everybody. We are the masters of the movieverse. And I am Anthony. This is Norman. We got the producer, Mario.
Hello.
What's up, everybody?
And, we're here to talk about some movies. That's what we do. Today, we're going to be talking about post-apocalyptic movies. All right? We're going with my personal top 20. Now, this, obviously, opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. So if you don't agree with it, go on the site, comment, give me, you can say what you feel. But this is my opinion, and these are my top 20. And Norman's going to act like,
Casually, yeah.
He's standing in for all of you. He's going to kind of come in and, maybe
I'm going to chime in.
Or he may agree with me. So
I'm going to ask some of the questions. You might have answers, though. Don't write the questions down that I'm saying. Come up with new stuff.
All right, so post-apocalyptic movies. Now, first thing you want to say is, get this thing working. What qualifies for my list as post-apocalyptic? In my opinion, I think because you have different, you have some movies where the apocalypse, the movie is about the apocalypse. You got like Armageddon, movies like that where it's kind of a build-up to the Armageddon is actually like the climax of the movie where they're trying to avert it or whatever.
Right.
In my opinion, I think that if the apocalypse happens during the course of the movie, I think it's going to happen very early on. In the first half hour or so, that can't be the climax. What always drew me, what always like appealed to me about post-apocalypse movies was like what happens after, like what people do to survive.
How they survive, how they work together.
Right, and how the movie, how the people who made the movie, the writers, the director, like, how they depict that, that struggle, and, there's a lot of things involved in it, just personal survival. How do I survive? If you have a family, how far do you go to protect that family? Which, most movies, that's, they put that ahead of themselves.
Right.
But then there's, beyond that is like the social aspect of it. When society breaks down, how far, are you willing to go to protect yourself and your family? Do you, is everybody you meet, are they, do you kill on sight?
Right.
Because they're probably going to kill you.
Because they want your stuff.
Right, yeah, and that's another thing,
And your women.
Scavenging for survivors. Yeah, right. Well, hey, a lot of these movies, that is the thing.
Yeah,
movie,
absolutely.
Women, food, shelter,
Yeah.
whatever you have.
They want
there's
it.
people out there that are going to take it. And
that's why you get into that situation. You want to make sure you're with some tough dudes with you.
Exactly, right,
like,
yeah. But then you want somebody that you trust because, eventually they'll say, well, why am I keeping you around? So there's a lot of things that go into it. So that's what I always liked about post-apocalypse movies is, the struggle to survive afterwards, So you could almost call this like survival movies. But, a lot of different types of apocalypse, and all that stuff. But that's where we'll see a lot of them right now.
We'll delve into that.
Yeah. But first of all, just for some examples of what wouldn't qualify for me. And you got some really good movies here, all right? So, I mean, starting from, to go clockwise around, you got The Matrix, right?
Yeah.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Absolutely.
Definitely takes place, after an apocalypse, In the movie, the scenes that take place in the apocalypse kind of take second, like a back seat to everything that happens within the confines of the Matrix.
Right.
That was like the real appeal for that movie was the Matrix itself, and the fact that we could go in there and once you learned about it and you can learn to control it, you could do whatever you want. It's almost like living in a dream, like where you could, like just the ones that I know kung fu. It's like he learns kung fu in a second.
Yeah.
So I mean, but the scenes. Most of the scenes that took place in the present, which the present being after this, AI robot machine apocalypse, where mankind was pretty much all but destroyed, and the reason they kept us around.
They were prisoners to feed off us, right? Like a battery. Energy.
They call they call us copper tops. The slang.
Yep.
But most of those scenes, first of all, they took place all within the ship there, the Nebuchadnezzar. So. As far as like somebody who's looking for a post-apocalypse, like all that survival stuff, Matrix doesn't really hit those points.
Right.
Great movie, like I said. That'll be on probably in a top 5 or 3 of some other list. But for this No. War of the Worlds. This movie, the apocalypse happens early on, yes, but pretty much during the whole course of the movie, it's during the apocalypse. It's not post-apocalypse.
Right. It was like, they just more like survival. It was like an attack takeover.
And in the end, the apocalypse never, it didn't succeed, right? Yeah, so we ended up, defeating. So that doesn't qualify. Planet of the Apes.
They got COVID, didn't they, too?
Yeah. They didn't have enough beds, so they all died. Planet of the Apes, all right? Problem with Planet of the Apes is definitely post-apocalypse. It's way after the apocalypse. But we don't even know that until the very last scene,
that scene,
damn you all that, that scene right there, right? That was as far as we know,
time frame,
exactly. So that's that. World War Z. It's kind of the same thing as War of the Worlds, where this whole thing took place during this zombie apocalypse, outbreak. Once again, would be definitely on one of my best, my top lists, top 5, probably be in the top 3 zombie movies. And when you think apocalypse, first nowadays especially, one of the first things you think of is zombie apocalypse. You know what I mean? So a zombie movie, you would think
that one. I probably, you're right. Not that one. Walking Dead maybe, but not that one.
So
because they figured it out. Yeah, Walking Dead, they still didn't figure it out.
Exactly. Yeah. And Walking Dead is just all the very the first season was the apocalypse, and then the rest of it is just how they got by after. This is another one. This is like a good movie, and this.
Oh yeah, I remember that movie.
10 Cloverfield Lane. Yeah. Now this is kind of like the same thing as like Planet of the Apes, where you didn't really know it was an apocalypse. They're telling you it was an apocalypse. He's telling. So you've seen this? Have you seen it? So anybody who hasn't seen it,
spoiler alert.
Yeah. What's her name? Winstead. Her last name is Winstead. I can't. I'm drawing a blank on her first name. Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Yeah. She is in a car accident at some point before the movie starts, and she wakes up kind of almost as a prisoner. She wakes up in a bunker with John Goodman. Kind of like a scruffy, big, kind of like a creepy looking dude that might want to kidnap somebody and keep him in a bunker. And so now this whole movie is about he won't let her out because he's worried about what's going on out there, and she, the whole movie is about. Is he just keeping me prisoner? She doesn't even know if the apocalypse really happened. And it's all about her trying to escape. But at the same time, she doesn't know if. So I don't want to spend too much time on it because this is one of my non-qualifiers. But in the end, it was, this is kind of like at the end where she actually realizes, hey, this is a spoiler alert again. It is the apocalypse. But that's why that doesn't qualify because it's part of the plot is just trying to figure out, is this the apocalypse or not? Right. 12 Monkeys made another one of my lists. Definitely a post-apocalypse. I mean, it takes place after a virus breaks out and all that stuff. But once again, most of the movie takes place in our time before the apocalypse, so I'm not going to qualify that. But just like to point it out, it's a great movie. One of my favorites. So now we're going to start with movies that did qualify, but then it didn't qualify for my top 20 list. This is the honorable mentions. And we're going to just go right around real quick. Zombieland. Yeah. Good movie. Great. I really liked it. Yeah, and it was, post-apocalypse. Mm-hmm. It just came too late to the party, I think. There's another movie that we'll talk about later that kind of beat out that comedy post-apocalypse genre. So, great cast, great movie. Didn't know if it really warranted a sequel, but whatever. Waterworld. I mean, I doubt this is on anybody's post-apocalypse top 20. No. But I'll be honest with you. I didn't hate it.
Yeah, I didn't hate it either.
It was one of those things.
I don't have a copy of it. It didn't make my copy cut. Right. But it was all right. It had an interesting story.
Yeah, kind of goofy. Yeah.
It's like a weird Aquaman kind of reality. Kind of movie.
Yeah, a little
with the gills behind his ears and all that nonsense.
Story, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's a different apocalypse. I think that's the only one that I can think of where the apocalypse they're talking about was, kind of global warming and the glaciers melt, cover the earth in water, and there's no land. What would happen there? It would be an interesting apocalypse, but the movie wasn't that great. So.
But they found land at the end, though. I think.
Huh? They did, right. Towards the end, He didn't want to stay there because he was an Aquaman.
And not to drag that story, but did it ever explain? Because I can't remember how he had gills in the back of his ears and webbed feet.
I don't remember.
I don't remember that either.
if anybody knows, feel free to comment.
Comment on the bottom. Let us know because I don't know. I don't remember.
That'd be interesting. It might be something. 'Cause I don't even know that was based on a book.
They might have talked about it when I fell asleep, but I don't remember.
One of the few times. Soylent Green. Charlton Heston. Charlton Heston. No stranger to post-apocalypse. Some might even argue that this isn't post-apocalypse. It's takes place like in the future. There's a food shortage. I believe it was another thing with. I think it had to do with climate change and stuff, which is way ahead of its time. For this was I think late '60s, early '70s.
Yeah, it looks like I don't remember that movie at all.
Yeah, but it is a thing where there's a food shortage, and the government is basically they're giving you the government cheese, but it was just a little bit of these little wafers that they would give you. There was Soylent Blue, Soylent Red, I think, and Soylent Green. When they started running out of the other ones, they were making Soylent Green. At the end of the movie, he finds out what they were doing was taking all the people that were dying, processing them, and making them into food and feeding them to everybody.
Nice.
So it was it's a good movie. It doesn't get a lot of credit, but
That's funny.
Next one down, The Girl with All the Gifts, newer movie. It was interesting movie. It was kind of it's a zombie apocalypse type thing, and premise of it is the kids. Some kids get like a partial zombie, like the zombie. They get the thing in them, but it doesn't turn them into a zombie fully. And they are zombies. They eat. They want to kill people, but they put them they have telepathic powers and shit. They got some kind of It was an interesting take on it, and she I think she breaks her out of school. They have them in these schools, but they keep these masks on them so they can't bite nobody. But they
are they thinkers? Can they think?
They think in
warm bodies.
She's almost she's like a sentient zombie, like Khan isn't zombie, but so it was an interesting take, and it wasn't a bad movie, but it wasn't that great either, so it's not making my list. Okay, so next movie we'll talk that doesn't qualify is Snowpiercer. Actually, it qualifies, just didn't make the list. It was a good movie. Chris Evans plays a good part. The thing, it was a little goofy. Have you seen the movie?
Did not see that.
It was a little goofy. I don't know. It was almost like I don't want to say like a Tim Burton movie style, but it was almost like it didn't have it. They couldn't figure out if they wanted to do a serious movie or just something off over the top. But it was a good premise. It's there was it's like a new ice age, so the world's frozen over, and somebody foresaw it. They created this massive train with all these different cars, and because the oceans are frozen, or parts of it, I guess. So they made a track that goes all the way around the world. As long as that thing keeps moving, it's generating electricity, heat, and all that stuff. They were growing their own. They had cars that grew food and all that stuff, and it was like a class system. So up towards the engine was all the the high elite, the upper class. You know what I mean? And as you went down the way, get to near the end of the train, the caboose was all the lower class, poor people and stuff. That they had they had little menial jobs. You need those people to run the train, but and eventually.
Did it go by cars?
Yeah.
The Mercedes Benz was they have a station wagon.
Well, yeah. They had it looked like they were in a
Volkswagen.
Park Avenue penthouse,
nice.
where all the rich people stayed, and these guys were staying in bunk beds, and it looked like
straw temple.
A slovenly pit we're living in, and then eventually they get tired of it and they start, and there was brutality to the ones in there, so it was a good movie, good concept. Like I said, the concept was good enough where they actually made a TV series out of it, which was all right. I don't know. I can't say that because I didn't finish the first series, so that usually means it isn't that good. But good. It was okay. It just missed the list. I actually had this in the top 20, and then I thought of a couple other movies that I'd forgotten about, so it got bumped. Yeah, these two Carriers too. They got bumped. Very eerily similar to what we're going through now. It's a virus. You see they got the masks on. That's Chris Pine. There was a couple other Piper Parabos in it. A couple decent actors. Kind of small scale. It was just about this group of friends living post-apocalypse. Obviously, it's a lot more serious than COVID. It's not like where somebody's like, I don't need the virus. It's like they're like this shit kills you. You get it and you die. So there was a little bit of tension, but it was just I don't know, not a whole lot happened. It was just kind of low scale. Whereas most post-apocalyptic movies, sometimes you just want to know what's going on. Like they never really went anywhere. It was just about like pretty much happened within a few days, I think. But it was a good movie nonetheless. If you haven't seen it, I do recommend all these movies. They just barely missed my list. So now we're gonna head into the top 20. My top 20. Like to know. Maybe disagree with some of them. I guarantee some people are going to disagree with a few of them, but that's what makes this interesting. So let's get into it. Number 20, Late in My Life. Not a very, not well known. I don't think it ever probably didn't do much time in like movie theaters and stuff. I do consider myself a Casey Affleck fan though. I think he's very talented. He's had some pretty good. I mean, he writes, he produces. In this particular movie, he wrote it, produced it, directed it, and starred in it. And it's basically about I believe. Oh, all right. So this was kind of similar to I don't know if you've ever seen there's an FX series called Why the Last Man, where all the men something happens to all the men. Anyway, this was kind of like that. Actually, this was first, so they must have copied him. But something happens, there's a plague, but it only affects women, and it kills all the women. Well, not all of them. There's like a few that were immune, but most, probably like 95% or something like that of the women are all die. It kind of it messes up society. Of course, like things break down. It gets to more of like a brutal kind of like a lot of towns just fall apart. People kind of coagulate into like or consolidate into like towns like from other towns. So a lot of like it's got like that apocalyptic feel. And Casey Affleck has a daughter. All right, and she's very young. She was like just born when this happened, and his wife dies early on because she gets the thing. So he just is trying to protect his daughter. Now you can imagine a world where there's hardly any women. Somebody sees a girl, it's
right.
Like we were talking about before. They're trying to take your women. Yeah. This is like
age is off the table.
This is that off the. Oh yeah. Well, that's part of that too. Is because this movie starts out. Yeah. Well, it starts out where she's like just kind of hitting puberty. So this whole time he's been able to kind of pass her off as a boy. She got the short hair. Oh yeah. He dress her in boys' clothes.
Right.
And it starts out the very first scene of the movie. They're in a camp, and like this creepy old guy shows up. Yeah, and
he's got a full blown condom outfit on. This guy's ready to go. That's a major red flag right there.
Just dive in, son. But
nice.
So they're camping out in the woods. Like he doesn't like to be around people, so they try to stay in the woods. And they come back to their camp one day. They see this guy rummaging around, and he's looking at the girl. He's got that looking at her like that.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
and he's so Casey Affleck. They get him to leave because it was just him by himself, but you don't know who he's with, where he's. So immediately they get up and leave, and that starts the movie where he's like kind of now he's on the move. And just trying to protect his daughter, who's starting to go through puberty, like I said. It's starting to get harder and harder to disguise her. And it just goes from, he just moves from place to place. And the stakes get a little higher and higher. Like, he doesn't trust anybody around her. And really, really good movie. Kind of pretty unique, like, apocalypse. As far as, like, all the women die, Like I said, I don't remember before that happened, but now, like I said, they got that series on FX that they did all the men dying, and it's just.
Is that Ben's kid?
But
is he related to Ben?
That's his brother, Ben Affleck.
Oh, is that his brother?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's really talented.
Actually, wasn't he in the movie when he first started?
Yeah.
Good Will Hunting.
Yeah.
He was one of the in the crew, right?
He's the one that came downstairs. He's got the glove on. He's he was like jerking off into the glove.
My boy's real smart, right? When they were in the bar.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Yeah, he's come a long way from that. Like he was like just like a goofy, like, you know what I mean?
Kid,
but yeah, he's got a lot.
How you like me now? No, I think actually Ben said that.
Yeah. You're suspect.
Yeah.
That was Ben. But yeah, I mean that was definitely a good movie. Number 19 on my list, Bird Box.
Yeah, that wasn't bad.
It was pretty good, you know, and I think it suffered for me from overhype. I think it just like there was so much buzz about this movie when it came out. I think I'm pretty sure like this kind of was one of the first like big budget like Netflix movies when they really started getting like big stars and like going in. I mean, maybe not the first, I'm sure it was, but like I don't know, for some reason this was when it like really started to take off, and this one, you know, did very well. You can't say in the box office because it was never in the box office, but it was, I mean, it good story, and then, you know, but this is also, I always had a problem with this. Is very similar to another movie, very much like it, Quiet Please, A Quiet Place, right?
Similar.
So this one has to do
one's vision, and the other one's audio.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You know, so I kind of I looked into it, and you know, I think this was done in 2016. It was based on a book that was written in 2014, I believe, and A Quiet Place was original screenplay. John Krasinski wrote it. So if anybody was copying anybody, it was The Quiet Place. But
Quiet Place was in the theaters. That's why everybody knows it more popular than this one.
Too. Well, no, I don't. I mean, really, this is probably just as popular, I would say, as sequel. Yeah. But
this was supposed to have a sequel, but I don't know what happened.
But it was, you know, really good, interesting. Had some really tense scenes. If that crazy dude down there.
Yeah, he was massaging her face or something, right?
Yeah, just a friendly neighborhood masseuse.
Yeah. He said, "I'm good."
Yeah, but you know, it's low on my list. Like I said, I think it might have been from overhype. I actually watched it again recently just to see, you know, if I had to, you know, after like the dust settled, you know, from the hype on it and stuff.
What was it like? Was like electricity ghosts or something like that, and it responded to
something. They were like invincible. I mean, at one point they found a way to like kind of see what they looked like, and it was just like kind of like a shape with eyes, but it was just like on a piece of paper, like for some reason it was like sound waves, how they got a picture of it. But yeah, it was like, you know, it's my problem with this, I think, is it's hard to make like you know, like exciting scenes when everybody's can't see, you know what I mean? Like it's tense. It's you know, if you care, if you care about, yeah, right. Well, this guy he looked already, but he was like, the thing was, when you look, it makes you like crazy and want to kill yourself, you know. But this guy, he looked, and I don't know if they controlled him or something. I
think they were using him
because he kept trying to get everybody to look, you know, and so
convert everybody or something,
right? Yeah. But yeah, I mean,
massaging their face first. Oh, this feels so good. Oh, my eyes.
Little manual Botox. But yeah, like I said, not much else to say. It was a decent movie, but you know, this one you could kind of say maybe it should have been in the non-qualified list because the Apocalypse kind of takes. I mean, they bounce back and forth. There's like 5 years later, I think, and then a lot of the movie takes place like on the day or like during the apocalypse. But you know, it is what it is. It was a decent movie. So that's number 19 on my list. Come on, all right. Number 18, Here Alone. Probably not many people have seen it. It's an indie movie. Definitely like, you know, low budget kind of. Didn't get a lot of advertising and stuff. But I tell you what, it's really good movie. It's kind of, I guess you could say it was slow. I mean, there wasn't like a ton of action, but there was just like tension the whole time. Like there was always like, yeah, she was. So she. At the start of the thing, it does flashbacks where it's her husband and her kid. Eventually, you know, they get out of the city. They find like a spot like out in the woods to live, and they start running out of food and stuff. Eventually, the father, you know, all right, spoiler alert. This whole thing's spoiler alert. So if you're planning on seeing these movies, I'm going to give you some. I probably won't tell you the end, but I'm going to give you some of the information. But yeah, and it's actually a zombie type movie where, you know, they're kind of hiding from these
she looks like a zombie now.
Yeah, well, she wiped shit all over herself so that when she goes out to get, you know, to scavenge,
like shit or like the insides of another zombie.
Shit, no, just shit. Like, yeah,
okay. Shit?
Yeah. No.
Because I don't even
bear
mind
shit.
on me.
No, she was using bear shit. She would go out
no, that's not
and
that
find
bad.
bear shit. And before she wiped it on herself, she'd pick all the berries out so she could eat them.
Nice. Because you got to be hungry back then.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That was like the whole thing was like just she's running out of food and she tries at all costs not to have to go scavenge.
And there's hardly no water, right? So you're actually cleaning the berries with spit to make it doubly gross.
Well, actually, she would clean the shit off with her piss.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, the whole thing was, all right, so she had this thing where, all right, so she's going to go scavenge. And so she'd leave the woods and she'd go out and she'd have a spot where she'd set up this bucket and she'd just keep pissing in a bucket. And she'd have all this piss and she'd put it on the edge of the, like halfway between the houses she's scavenging and, her camp. And then she covered in shit. She goes out and she would have this, she had this like little baby toy that made noise. And she'd cut herself, she'd put blood on it. And she'd hang it like on the other side of the property of where she was going. She'd turn the thing on, make the noise, put the blood on it, then it attracts the zombies, and then she'd go around the other side of the property and break in. So, she was like smart. That's what I liked about it too, was like they put a lot of thought into, how her strategies. And then this was one of the ones where we were talking about earlier about how far do you go, like, to shut yourself away, like, keep away from other people,
right.
Where, society, like, you need, people need to communicate and all that stuff, but when it's life or death, at what point do you draw the line? Right. And that's what happened. She's on her own for a long time, and she meets a couple other people, and she decides to trust them, and it goes, and it goes from there. Like I said, I'll try not to give away the endings and stuff, but definitely a really good movie. That's her with her original husband and their baby. The husband dies, the baby dies. That's her covered in shit, and then that's when she first meets the other two people.
Is that her Facebook profile?
That's all right. I'm gonna tell Julie to use that one.
It's a dating.
I'll tell my wife to do that. Cover yourself in shit so guys don't want to talk to you.
Only a real guy would talk to her, like a sincere guy.
Oh yeah.
Like not look for ass.
Or somebody from like West Virginia or something.